what? In this video, we're going to be looking at Black Panther's costumes in Marvel's Avengers. Specifically, all of his unique suit models and any recolors that are references to things from the comic books. Go ahead and subscribe if you like this sort of thing, since I will eventually cover every character in Marvel's Avengers. I've already covered half the game's cast in previous videos, so give those a watch as well when you have the time. But before I get into it, I'd like to first talk about our sponsor, a game that needs no introduction, Raid Shadow Legends. With over 400 million players across over 190 countries, Raid is one of the biggest games in the world. There are over 700 champions across 15 different factions, so there's bound to be a champion and team combination that works for you. Some of my favorites include Yakarl the Scourge. He looks super cool and imposing with that ornate armor and large battle axe. Fushan is hands down the coolest looking animalistic character. I love how he looks reminiscent of old kaiju movies. And the masked fearmonger is kind of an unorthodox pick, but I do think he looks really cool and he seems to be paying homage to a horror movie legend. Since there are regular content updates, this means that there will be even more champions, events, and rewards in the future. If you're in the mood for a real challenge, then great news, they've just added a fearsome new boss, Akumori the Phantom Shogun. Defeating this undead general will give you everything you need for Accessory Ascension, a new feature that'll let you upgrade your gear even further. And if you haven't seen it already, then be sure to check out the animated limited series Raid, Call of the Arbiter. All 10 episodes are available on the official Raid YouTube channel right now. If you haven't started playing Raid yet, then you can use my link in the description or scan the QR code you see right here in the video to download the game and get some crazy bonuses. Including the epic champion, Drake, these rewards are worth $30, so be sure to snag them now. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Let's start with Panther's default costume, the iconic suit. Well, actually, I want to quickly point something out. See, the iconic suits are the main canonical costumes these characters wear in this game, and because of that, and the fact that they're the suits you see in most of the game's promo material, and that they're the suits I start with in these videos, people think that the iconic suits are the default suits these characters start with, which isn't always true. The only characters who have the iconic suits as their default suits are Jane Thor, Kate Bishop, and Black Panther. For every other character, you have to unlock the iconic suits by completing side missions or buying them from the cosmetic vendor on the helicarrier. I know this seems like a pointless thing to highlight, but I've seen a lot of people refer to the iconic suits as the default suits, but that isn't always true. It is true for Black Panther though. So as far as both iconic and default suits go, this one is really good. I think it all comes down to one very simple thing, which is that Black Panther's iconic suit actually looks like a superhero costume, a suit that was specifically designed for him. I think a problem that a lot of the other characters have is that their iconic suits look like regular clothes that have been colored and styled to emulate superhero costumes, but they aren't actually superhero costumes. Black Panther breaks away from that, but what's really interesting is that we know that this wasn't always the case. A piece of concept art depicting Black Panther's iconic suit was leaked around the time of the game's release. As you can see, this version of Panther's suit is much more in line with the outfits worn by the rest of the cast, which is to say that it sucks. Thank God they listened to people's criticisms of their designs and changed Panther's look, because this initial design is awful. It has the same issue that Captain America's iconic suit had, being made of bulky contemporary military armor held together by straps and buckles. So look, you could make the argument that this modern military aesthetic fits Captain America since he's a soldier. I wouldn't, but there is an argument to be made there. However, this style of design does not fit Black Panther at all. T'Challa is the king of a highly advanced country, wearing a costume that serves as a symbol of his kingdom and its people. The suit should look futuristic, expensive, and to a certain extent, fancy. It should not look like repurposed paintball gear. So while the final version shares the general design of the original, it looks far better because they removed a lot of the unfitting military features and made it stick closer to what the character should be. So let's move away from the concept art and get back to the suit itself. I really like how the suit gives T'Challa a very muscular appearance. You'll be able to see this clearly when we get to the casual outfits, but T'Challa himself is not very muscular in this game. It's the suit here that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for him. But unlike Captain America's suits that were padded to hell and back, this costume has muscle definition built into it to give his body a good shape. Yeah, it is kind of silly when you think about it that he's wearing a muscle suit to make himself look bigger, but whatever, it looks cool. I like the symbol that he has on his chest. I understand that a lot of people don't like this, since it is a little odd for him to essentially have his own face as his logo. And I've seen some people say that it looks like something out of Power Rangers, but I don't know, I like it. I like Power Rangers, so that's not really an issue for me. I like it when superheroes have logos on their chests, and something else you have to consider is that this costume doesn't have the necklace that's on a lot of Black Panther's costumes, so I feel like the suit has to make up for that lack of silver on the front of the chest, and I think the logo is a good way to do that. I like the eyes, I like the lights on his hands that match the eyes, I like the helmet, I like the ridged armor pieces on his arms and shins that are reminiscent of the stripes he had on his gloves and boots in the comics. I like everything about this costume. Well, almost everything. There are two issues I have with this suit, and only one of them is an issue of the actual design. I think the mesh fabric on the costume is way too light of a gray color. In some lighting it looks fine, but sometimes it's distracting how much lighter it is compared to the rest of the suit. This part of the suit should have either been a much darker gray or black, since, you know, he's the Black Panther, his suit should be black. The other issue I have with the suit is that there is a very small area on the back of the costume that permanently glows purple. He essentially has a dead pixel on the suit. It's pretty small, so you won't notice it that often, but it is there, and you will notice it sometimes. This is a bug that, as far as I can tell, has been in the game since Black Panther was first added, and because this game ended support, it's never getting fixed. It's really weird too, since it's only on this costume. It's not on any of the recolors, nor is it on the battle damage version of the suit, or any of that suit's recolors. Overall though, I think the suit is amongst Crystal Dynamics' best designs, that is held back by some very minor and easily rectifiable issues. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, and if they fix the issues I highlighted, then it would be an easy 10. The Night Sky outfit is a blue recolor of the iconic that resembles the way Panther is often colored in older comic books. I just want to clarify that Panther's costume was never actually blue, it was just colored that way for shading purposes. Plenty of characters with black outfits used to be colored the same way, but their costumes weren't actually blue. Same thing here. The suit here in the game is cool, it's a very pleasant shade of blue, though I do wish there was a version of a darker blue, since it is pretty light in color. I don't love it, but I think it's neat. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. The Hatu Sarase suit is a recolor that is based off the group of the same name from the comics. Let me just read off their description from the wiki. Trust me, you'll get a kick out of this. The Hatu Sarase, meaning dogs of war in the Wakandan language, are a tribe who act as Wakanda's secret police, taking responsibility for the imprisonment, torture, and extermination of Wakanda's enemies both domestically and globally. So don't say anything against the Wakandan government on Twitter, or else these guys will make you disappear. Obviously, T'Challa wasn't on board with these guys due to their methods, so he often fought against them in the books. The outfit here in the game is not a direct recreation of this organization's outfits, it's just a recolor that shares the same color scheme. That being said, it's pretty cool. This game gets a lot of flack for its recolors, largely because most of them are random nonsense nobody asked for. But this suit and the blue recolor are examples of good looking recolors. Again, I don't love this one. I guess I'm just too much of a purist. I prefer to have a black costume while playing as Black Panther, but it's still cool, an 8 out of 10. Man in Myth is a battle damage version of the iconic suit with no mask. Not really a fan of this one. I like outfits that look pristine, so battle damage suits of any kind have never been my thing. I personally would never use this one. I do think it's kind of interesting, you can see the inner parts of the suit and that they're purple, but that's about the only thing I like. Something that I find interesting about this battle damage suit is that none of the recolors correspond to any of the recolors of the iconic suit. There's even the blue one, but it's different to the Night Sky outfit we just discussed. Odd choice. Also, the gray mesh seems to be slightly lighter here than it was on the iconic suit, which is weird since they're supposed to be the same suit. 6 out of 10. The Demisa Sarki outfit is this game's attempt at Black Panther's classic look with a short cape. I despise this costume. This is the definition of over-designed. To show what I mean, let's play a little game I like to call, how many goddamn textures are on this costume? Because I count at least 6. Why are there so many different materials on a one-piece bodysuit? This was supposed to be such a simple costume, why add so much crap to it? And look, I'm not saying that costumes adapted from the comics can't have some additional details to make them fit better into a 3D space. I think a lot of costumes need some additional details to keep them from being too plain and silly looking. But this isn't that. There is so much going on in this costume. It's like they had 5 different ideas of what they wanted to do with it, but couldn't decide which one to do, so they just crammed all of them into one. The worst part of it is that I think keeping the costume closer to its simple comic book roots would have actually made it stand out more. Black Panther doesn't really have a simple costume in this game. All of his outfits have a ton of lines and patterns and textures and stuff, so this one doesn't really stand out. It's just another suit with a ton of crap on it. I'm giving this one a 3. At least the colors are kinda good, I guess. There's a recolor of the suit called Wakanda's Claws that is a reference to a rejected design of Black Panther. As you can see in the image on the right, this version of the character would have been called the Coal Tiger. Another version of T'Challa would reuse this name and design in his story that is too complicated to get into, but I'll leave some info on screen for those that are curious. When looking at this design and his color scheme, I think it's pretty easy to see why this was a rejected design for the character. It looks really silly. I think it's cool that they referenced it, but I would never use this. Also, the suit isn't actually called Coal Tiger, which would be fine if not for the fact that there is another suit in the game that uses that name. Why? 4 out of 10. The King T'Challa skin is the casual outfit T'Challa wears when he's out of the suit. It's fine. I think everything from the waist up looks good, but then you get to the belt? Why does his casual outfit have a military belt? That's not me just saying this. This belt is almost exactly the same thing Captain America wears on a lot of his outfits. I'm pretty sure that this is because everything from the belt down was intended to be used for a different costume and is being reused here, but I can't prove that. Still, it looks weird. There's a black and gold recolor of this that I think looks a little better, but I still don't think it's that good. 6 out of 10. The Strategist costume is based off of a time in the books where T'Challa took over for Daredevil as the protector of Hell's Kitchen. He didn't have access to all his cool Wakandan stuff, so he wore a suit that was very low tech. This suit is drawn in a completely different way in some of the covers where they give him a lot of gold pieces on the suit. He doesn't actually look like that in the story though. I have no idea what the artists were doing there. This version in the game is fine. I'm not a big fan of the suit in the comics either. I think both of them are equally mid. The suit in the game does bear a passing resemblance to the original concept art of the iconic suit, so maybe they reused some of those ideas here. I can't say for sure though. It's like a 5. There's a recolor of this called Without Fear that is colored red and black. This is a pretty obvious reference to Daredevil himself, the man without fear. I think making anything black and red will make it look better, so I'll give this a slightly higher score of 6 out of 10. The Most Dangerous Man outfit is based off the character Casper Cole, who briefly took on the mantle of Black Panther. Now, you might look at the guy and think that he's white. I did when I first saw him. I was like, no way, Ryan Gosling Black Panther real? But no, he's mixed. His father was black, his mother was white, and his name, Casper, is a nickname given to him due to how light-skinned he is. You know, like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Gosh, that's such an old property. I wonder how many people today will even understand that reference. Anyway, this outfit did look really cool in the comics, mostly due to how they drew his coat. It was always drawn to be super long and flow in the wind in the most dramatic way possible, which is something that you can't really do in a video game. The suit here looks pretty lame in comparison, but I understand there wasn't a whole lot they could do. That being said, I don't like the mask. The way the nose holes are positioned make it look like he has a permanently scrunched up face, and that looks really silly to me. Also, you can see that the lower body of the suit here is the same as the King T'Challa outfit. So my theory is that they made this skin first, and then reused the lower body of it for the King outfit because they ran out of time and thought it would be good enough. Again, I can't prove this, but it's the most rational explanation for me. I'd give this one a 6 out of 10. Also, why is this costume called the Most Dangerous Man? There is a Black Panther story called Most Dangerous Man Alive, but that was about T'Challa when he was wearing the suit that inspired the Strategist costume. So that suit should be called Most Dangerous Man, not this one. There's a recolor of this suit called Panther Crew. This is a reference to a story where Casper Cole, now calling himself White Tiger, no relation to the other Marvel superhero also called White Tiger, gets wrapped up in a team-up of sorts put together by Rhodey. The image I've put on the right is a cover that shows the costume being drawn with a belt and pants. But outside of that cover art, the suit is consistently drawn as a full bodysuit with the coat over top of it. So this version of it in the game is closer to the one cover and not how it is in the actual story. Just like the Most Dangerous Man suit, the main thing that I liked about the suit in the books is how exaggerated the coat is, which is something that can't really be replicated here. So I don't think it looks that good. 6 out of 10. There's a version of this suit that is just barely not a recolor called Exiles. The only difference, aside from its colors, being that it has a cowboy hat. Now, there was a version of Black Panther in the comic books from a book called Exiles that was a cowboy, but this costume bears no resemblance to that character outside of the name and hat. Why did they do this? Why did they choose to put a hat on this suit? Why did they give it these random blue and purple colors? Why? They could have just recolored the King T'Challa outfit and given that one a hat. It still wouldn't have been great, but it would look way better than this. I don't want to give this one a score because I can't even be sure this is the suit they were going for, but since it is a unique model, I do have to grade it just on that alone. I'll give it a 1. The cowboy hat is neat, I guess, but everything else about this sucks. The Shadow Physics suit seems to be a reference to the more modern Black Panther suits that have lines in them when he's absorbing and releasing kinetic energy. I think the kinetic energy lines look cool. They show up briefly when he's doing the whole absorbing, releasing thing, but to have them on the costume all the time, don't you think that's a bit much? I don't like how the mouthpiece of this costume is so different to the rest of the suit. It's a very jarring contrast with everything else because the rest of the mask and the bodysuit is pretty uniform in design. Also, his legs are really huge in this suit, but his shoulders aren't very broad, so he has a very interesting shape in this costume. I'd give this one a 6 or 7. I think it'd look a lot better without all these lines on it. There's a recolor of this suit called Mangaverse that I can't for the life of me understand what their intention was when they made it. There is a Marvel Mangaverse and Black Panther did appear there, but he looked like this. He turned into an animal man because this version of the character could channel animal spirits or something. He also turns into Falcon by doing the same thing, but that's not important. The point is that this outfit doesn't look anything like this character from the Marvel Mangaverse story, so why name this suit Mangaverse? Even if this was not a reference to the character or the Mangaverse as a whole, then what is it referring to? Because manga, I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. Manga is black and white. He doesn't have colors. So why? Not gonna score this one, just wanted to point out how utterly baffling and nonsensical this is. The Royal Legacy outfit is an original skin, I think? It's reminiscent of the design of the 1 million BC version of Black Panther, but it's not that close to it. And unlike the 1 million BC skins for Thor and Hulk that are named 1 million BC, this one isn't. So I did a little digging to see if the developers had actually admitted which specific costume this was supposed to be, and on the PlayStation blog post, I found this image. As you can see, it says this is an outfit taken from the iconic Black Panther comic series. Wow, thank you, Crystal, that is so helpful, really narrows it down. But I also found a video they posted on Twitter highlighting the costume, where they said that it was taken from the comic series where Shuri takes on the mantle of Black Panther. Well, I flipped through that series. He never wears anything that looks like this. There's even a panel showing off multiple past versions of Black Panther, and none of them look anything like this. So I think it's pretty clear this is not based off of any specific costume. It is based off of the general idea of past Black Panthers. So I'm not going to judge it as an adaptation of anything. I'm going to judge it as its own unique creation on its own merits. So looking at it like that, it's kind of mid. It's an interesting skin, I'll give it that. It certainly stands out from the other ones, but this ancient tribal look just isn't for me. I mean, why would I wear something so primitive when I can use this cool super suit, you know? I'd give this one a 5 out of 10. The Haramu Fall outfit is an original design that I mostly like. I like the bodysuit, I like the leopard pelt, I like the cape, I like the gold lines throughout the suit, and I don't mind the helmet. So what's the problem? Well, if you look at it in any lighting that isn't complete darkness, then you can see that the suit isn't actually black. Instead, it's a weirdly greenish color. I just know that I'm gonna get some comments saying stuff like, well, they can't all be black, what's wrong with trying something different? Look, dude. He's called the Black Panther. His suit should be black. And if they really wanted to give him a dark green costume for some reason, then there should have at least been a black recolor of this outfit. But there isn't one. And I also know I'm gonna get comments saying that the suit isn't green and that I'm colorblind. I still get comments on my Spider-Man videos calling me colorblind for what I said about the advanced suit. Anyway, this suit is a well-designed outfit that is unfortunately held back by its bizarre coloration. 7 out of 10. The Unconquered suit is another more ancient and traditional costume that just doesn't do anything for me. There's nothing technically wrong with this one, it's just not something I'm into. I respect that it's something different, having a variety of distinct suits is a good thing after all. It reminds me of samurai armor, which is kinda cool, but I doubt that was intentional. Still though, it's not for me. If it works for you, then great, but for me, this is a 6. The light armor outfit is a suit Panther wore for one issue in a comic where he used it to fight against Dr. Doom. It's a pretty brief fight, so there aren't a lot of images of it, but it mostly looks like a reflective black material or a very dark blue. Here, it's a very light blue instead, which I don't really like. And it's not just that it's different, I think the lighter blue makes the outfit look sillier and more like a toy than actual protective armor. The design of the suit itself isn't something I like much either. I really don't like how small his ears are, they're barely visible and sometimes it looks like he doesn't have them at all. And the overall aesthetic is too Iron Man-y for my taste. If I wanted to look like Iron Man, I would just play as Iron Man. Maybe if there was a recolor of this suit that was darker in color, I'd have a different opinion, but as it is, this suit gets a 6. The Earth X costume is based off the Earth X line of comics, where all of humanity gains superpowers after being mutated by the Inhumans Terrigen Mist. So T'Challa turns into an actual Panther Man. The suit is a very faithful recreation of his appearance in the books, but there are some differences that I think are notable. His facial features were a lot sterner in the comics, where he's more round and friendly looking here. He doesn't have the narrow vertical cat eyes he had in the comics, instead having the typical circular human ones. And his fur isn't black, it's a bluish color. So look, I'm not a furry, so I don't care much about this costume either way. None of these are problems, just differences that I thought were interesting. Especially since they have a literal Black Panther, like the animal, already in the game, so why didn't they just make him look more like that? The only thing this costume has that might be a legitimate problem is that his cape is attached to his arms, so he looks a little weird in some poses. So I'd give this one an 8. I do respect this costume for being so different and out there, but I personally don't like it much. The suit from Captain America Civil War is a phenomenal costume. I remember when I first saw the concept art they released for this suit, because I remember thinking, there's no way it'll actually look that cool in the movie. But it did end up looking that cool. I think the bodysuit looks great. I love the design of the stripes and how they weave together. The suit looks sturdy and strong, without being overly large and bulky. I believe that this thing can shrug off bullets like they're nothing. And I love the design of the helmet. I can't scientifically explain it, it just looks so damn cool. The suit is recreated near perfectly in this game. Near perfectly. Some parts of the suit are strangely reflective and will look intensely gray under certain light. It doesn't look like this all the time, but it does happen. Outside of that, the only issue I have with the suit is that I think it needed a silver belt that wrapped around his waist, so there would be more silver on his back. As it is, the suit is kind of boring from behind. I understand why it probably doesn't have one, since this suit was designed for a movie, where you'd be seeing it from the front most of the time. So I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, as I said, it does have problems, but it's pretty damn close, and if you think it's perfect, then I won't argue with you. Then to contrast that, we have the suit from Black Panther's solo movie, which sucks. It's funny, I've spoken to a lot of people who are actually unaware that Panther got a different costume for his solo movie. There is a whole scene dedicated to him getting the new costume, but I guess that wasn't enough for some people. The bodysuit is fine, I think it actually looks better here than it did in the movies, since T'Challa is more beefed up, so it looks stronger. I always thought that the material in the movies looked too thin and flimsy, like it could be cut with a pocket knife. But the real stinker here is the helmet. It's too cat-like, and I think it looks silly, especially this upper area around the mouth that protrudes a bit. It looks like he got stung by a bee. For the life of me, I just can't take it seriously. While not the worst thing I've ever seen, it's still a massive downgrade from the suit in Civil War, 6 out of 10. So that's all of Black Panther's suits in this game. Overall, I think most of Panther's suits are just okay, a lot of them either being held back by minor issues or simply being aesthetic styles that I'm not interested in. I think the Civil War suit is the best suit Panther has, and I don't see a reason to switch off of it. The iconic suit is second place for me, and while I do like it and I think it is a standout skin amongst all the characters, it does have more prominent issues that stop me from loving it. I've made a tier list for Panther's costumes, the link will be in the description as usual. Here's what mine looks like. But if you disagree with me with a burning passion, you can just use the link to make your own. I don't have that many suggestions for what skins I would have liked to have seen. Part of this is because the main costume I wanted was the one from Captain America Civil War, and I got it. But I also think it's because Stan Lee and Jack Kirby really knocked it out of the park when they first made the character. As we saw with the Colt Tiger costume, it took them a while to get there, but once they did, they made an incredible character design that is hard to top. That's why I only have 2 suggestions, and both of them are pretty much just Panther's classic look from the comics. The first one I would have liked to have seen is a faithful recreation of his classic suit. Like I said before, all of Panther's suits here are pretty complicated, so having a simpler and more basic design would actually really stand out. Especially if the suit had eye holes so you can see his eyes through the mask, since none of the costumes here have that. The second look I'd like to see is the suit T'Challa wore in the Christopher Priest run, where he had the golden decals on the suit and had a big cape with a big collar. I think that suit went super hard, and honestly I'm shocked they didn't adapt it in this game. So that's it for this one. The next character I vivisect will most likely be Black Widow, since she has the most votes behind Panther, which is surprising to me because Black Widow is easily the most boring character, but whatevs. I have 10,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely insane. I can't thank you all enough for sticking with me and watching my stuff. I'd also like to thank Raid Shadow Legends once again for sponsoring this video. So click the link in my description or scan the QR code to download the game and get a free epic champion. So like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the YouTube things. And I'll see you next time.